Talk about a crisis of belief. Before I became a Christian, I used to make six figures, take trips all around the world, pretty much do whatever I wanted. To all of a sudden now, I've given away as a Christian everything I own and find myself planted in a low-income housing facility in Springfield, Missouri, working as a night security guard in exchange for a little room, 3 hot meals a day down in the kitchen, and the basic necessities of life. After moving into the Franciscan Villa apartments, I began to teach Bible studies. One of the women that came was not in very good health, and in fact, 2 weeks later, she had passed away. Well, when her family came into town, they went to the office and talked to the manager there, Teresa, and asked, "Do you know where she went to church? Did she have a pastor, somebody that we could contact to do the eulogy?" Well, Teresa called me up on the phone. She said, "James, will you come down to the office? You're supposed to meet some people." And when I met them, they asked if I do the eulogy, and I told them I would as long as they allowed me to also use it as an evangelistic opportunity, which they agreed. Teresa said, "If you'll do that, then I'll put invitations in all the mailboxes of the 100 people that live here," which she did. We had a packed house. Over 100 people came to the funeral that took place right there on the premises. It was a wonderful, glorious celebration of life, but also I had an altar call, and people came forward, including the granddaughter of the deceased. Well, after that, some people were very interested in going to church with me, so I brought some of them to the church that I had plugged into, which was really a lifeline, why I lived there in Springfield, Missouri, called Day Spring Church. And the people that went there with me as guests filled out the visitor cards, which led to the outreach team from Day Spring Church to come over to the Franciscan Villa apartments to reconnect with the people that had filled out those cards. And when they did, they found out that I was already doing ministry there, and that all of them were connected to me. And so they banged on my door and asked if they could come alongside of what God was doing. Well, that's when I met Krista Stacy, who became my strongest ministry partner while I was there in Springfield, Missouri for 3 years. And right after that at Day Spring Church, I got connected with the associate pastor, Farley Lewis, who was moving very powerfully in the gifts of the Spirit. Also, that's when I met the singles ministry pastor, which was Brett Smallwood, that also had his own ministry that was a prophetic ministry. He had put together prophetic ministry teams that went out and ministered to the needs of others. So the Lord was on the move. And through the gifts of the Spirit, which are talked about in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and Romans chapter 12, and throughout the Gospels and other places, the spiritual gifts were operational because people believed in those gifts and believed that God really does allow us to be his hands and his feet and his voice. And so I got to see amazing things take place. One time, Krista and I were ministering to people there at the Francisco Villa Apartments, which was very much a very rich area for us to do ministry because there were a lot of broken people there that were suffering from drugs and alcohol and other types of illnesses. And so one day when we were ministering and going door to door, we came across this couple, and the woman that was visiting there, the Lord gave me a word of knowledge, a firecracker. And as we were ministering to her, I said, "Does firecracker mean anything to you?" And her eyes kind of got real big, and she said, "How did you know?" "That's what my parents called me while I was growing up." And then the Lord gave me some other words to share with her that ministered to her needs. Of course, that caught her attention, and she listened with belief. Another situation I think of, just to kind of give an example of how the Lord was on the move, was one time Brett Smallwood brought a team of us over to a singles ministry home that had a lot of people that used to go there after Sunday church services. And the Lord had us minister to that person in a very powerful way, and not only in prophetic words, but also the baptism of the Holy Spirit. The word that the Lord gave me for Wendell was, the Lord was showing me a picture of him unwrapping this gift. And I said, the gift the Lord is showing me for you is the gift of discernment. Well, after I had shared that word, Wendell told me, he said, just 2 days ago, he said, I have somebody that does intercessory prayer for all these singles gatherings we have at my home. And he said, that person came over 2 nights ago and told me that we should start praying for the gift of discernment because of all the people that were coming over there, that would be a gift that I really needed. 1 Peter 5, verse 10 and 11 says, God has given each of you gifts from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them to serve one another. Do you have the gift of speaking? Then speak as though God were speaking through you. Do you have the gift of helping others? Then do it with the strength and energy that God supplies. Then everything that you do will bring glory to God.